This is Ryan, and I'm here for a video for our class. This time we're going to talk about numbers and applications. So we're going to start off talking about decimals. Decimals represent fractions or parts of a whole based on powers of 10 using a point known as a decimal point. They provide a way to express numbers between whole numbers and allow for accurate representation of values, especially in measurement and calculations. So here's an example of a decimal. We'll just go with 3.14. And here's the decimal right there. Now let's talk a little bit about naming a decimal. So to name a decimal, name the number to the left of the decimal. Right and for the decimal point. Name the number to the part of the right decimal point as if it were a whole number. Name the decimal place of the last digit. So when we do this, we need to think about it in terms of how do we say this. So here's the decimal point right there, and they tell us that is the word and. Then we have our number system over here on the left. These are typically the ones, and these are the tens. These are the hundreds, and hopefully you remember this. And then the next was the thousands. And when we go to the right, we start with tenths with a th on the end. And then we go to hundredths. And then we go to thousandths. And that continues. But notice the difference is that these all have a th on the end. So the way we would read 3.14 is, we would read it as 3 and 14 hundredths, because this is the second decimal point right here. 3 and 14 hundredths. So that's just kind of what we went through, is how to write a decimal number from its name. Let's talk about converting a decimal number to a fraction or a mixed number. So look at the number to the left of the decimal point. So if I go back to our 3.14, we're going to look at the number to the left of the decimal point, which is 3. If it is a 0, the decimal converts to a proper fraction. If it is not a 0, the decimal converts to a mixed number. So since ours is a 3, we're going to look at a mixed number. So 3, determine the place value, final digit. So we have our place value here is in the second one, so it's a hundredth. Write the fraction, denominator, the numerator, the number to the right of the decimal point, which is 14. The denominator is the place value of the corresponding final digit. So since the 4 is in the hundredth position, we're going to put it 3 and 14 hundredths. Then simplify. So we would simplify this down, since 14 and 100 are both even. It'll be 3 and 7 over 50. Let's try it. Let's convert the decimal point 58 hundredths to a fraction. So since there is a 0 to the right, it's just going to be 58 over 100, which then reduces to 29 over 50. This next one is, there's a 2 right there, so it'll be a mixed number, so that's 2 and 75 hundredths, which then reduces to 2 and 3/4, because 25 goes into 75 and 25 goes into 100. Let's talk a little bit about rounding. So locate the given place value and mark it with an arrow. So let's say we're going to look at 3.1457. We're going to round it to the nearest hundredth. So we're going to look at the 4 right there. We're going to round it to this spot right here. Underline the digit to the right of the given value. So we're going to underline the digit to the right of the given value, the 5. Is the digit greater than or equal to 5? If yes, add 1 to the digit. If no, leave it alone. So since I want to round to the nearest hundredth, and the number to the right of the 4 is a 5, we're going to round this to We're going to round up to 3.15. Let's talk about ordering decimals. Check to see if both numbers have the same number of decimal places. If not, write zeros at the end of the one with fewer digits to make them match. Compare the numbers to the right of the decimal point to see it as if they were whole numbers. Order the numbers using appropriate inequality signs. Symbols, inequality signs. So let's look at these three numbers. We have 12.45, 12.5, and 12.405. So let's look at 12.45. We're going to make that 12.450. 12.5, we're going to make that as 12.500 and 12.405. So the smallest one would be, so we look at the 4, so we know this one and this one are smallest. If we look at the next digit, we have a 0 versus a 5, so we then know that 12.405 is the smallest. And we know that 12.450 is next, and then 12.50 is the largest. Okay, equivalent fractions. Two decimals are equivalent if they convert to equivalent fractions. So for example, these fractions, 0.5, 0.50, and 0.500 are all the same, because if I convert 0.5 to a fraction, it's a tenth digit, so it's 5 over 10. 0.50 is a hundredths digit, so it's 50 over 100. And 0.5 thousandths, that's going to be 500 over 1,000. And if you remember your rules, you can cancel off the zeros on the top and the bottom. So each time we're left with 5 over 10, which is the same as 1/2. Let's determine whether a number is a solution to an equation. We're going to substitute the number for the variable into the equation, simplify the expression on both sides, determine whether the result is true. So let's say I have the equation x plus 3 equals 5. And my question is x equal 3 a solution? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 3, and I'll plug it in over here into the x. So I'm going to go 3 plus 3 equals 5. So this is 6 equals 5. That is false. So x equals 3 is not a solution. Let's talk a little bit about the property of equality. So there's 4 properties. There is the subtraction property, the addition property, the division property, and the multiplication property. The subtraction property says I can subtract the same number from both sides and it's still true. Addition says I can add the same number to both sides and it's still true. The division property looks like this. If A equals B and I divide both of them by C, it is still true. Except C cannot be 0 because then it's undefined. And the multiplication property says that if I multiply both sides by the same number, it's also true. So let's try it. So let's solve this equation. So x plus 3.75 equals 7.50. If I apply the subtraction property, I can subtract 3.75 from both sides. So then I get x equals 7.50 minus 3.75. And I get 3.75 for my answer. The next one, let's say I have 4.6y equals 23. I can apply the division property, divide both sides by 4.46. So y would equal 23 divided by 4.6. That equals 5. Okay, so I think we're going to stop right there, and then we will pick up the rest of this in another video.